3, 4. Burn it down! Burn it down! Burn it down! Burn it down!
Hello again, gang. We've crossed the big pond, and we're in London, England tonight for this week's RWL Snarl. We're glad you've joined us. I'm Wally Cardell, joined as usual by Johnny Bianco, and of course, GM Hangman Tex Lynch, with the call of the action. Well, we're just a few days away from the Labor Day Slamathon, and tonight's card is kind of a preview of the action we're gonna see Monday night here in Old London Town.
There's been all sorts of interesting developments all through the month of August, and we'll be seeing some of that tonight with several key matches and a couple of important title defenses scheduled for this evening's card.
Tex, I can see that smile through your mask, fella. You look like a kid the night before Christmas. What you got to say about it all?
Well, Wally, I'll tell you what, we're going to see some wild stuff this evening, including those title defenses that GB spoke of.
All right, let's get it all crack-a-lackin' with our opening match, a rematch from several weeks ago, with Cruiserweight RWL Hall of Famer Craig and BC Block looking for a little payback as he gets set to lock it up with Chris Jericho. So let's go to ringside and Buck Morton with the introductions.
London, and welcome to our WL Snarl. Our opening contest is set for one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, from Staten Island, New York, residing in Clearwater, Florida, weighing 193 pounds, our WL Hall of Famer, Craig NBC Block.
The longest reigning ever RWL Cruiserweight Champion, Craig NBC Block, an RWL Hall of Famer. This whole beef with him and Jericho started about 3 weeks ago when he showed up with Trish Stratus by his side instead of Chris Jericho. Well, Jericho didn't appreciate that and wound up winning the match. But Craig NBC Block is back this week looking for a little payback at the hands of Chris Jericho.
Jericho was caught off guard by being stood up by Trish Stratus in favor of NBC, and he wound up catching Craig Block off guard and winning their last encounter. And that doesn't sit well with Block, who held that Cruiserweight title for damn near 3 years without a single title match loss. And Mr. Block has come back, looking to even the score with Jericho.
Yes, sir, you'll never catch these two in a friendly game of Parcheesi, that's for damn sure.
Manitoba, Canada, weighing 227 pounds, here is Chris Jericho.
Here's a guy who's been all over the pro wrestling map. WCW, WWE, and AEW. But Chris Jericho returns to our WL tonight. Quick to sign this rematch with NBC, confident he can beat his opponent a second time, and he's suggested that Craig Block is over the hill and yesterday's news, but that kind of talk isn't likely to diminish Craig's in-ring ability even after several years in semi-retirement. You faced Block when he was at the height of his run, Tex. What's your opinion? Had Jericho got Craig's number here?
Jericho's just talking because he was mad about that Trish Stratus thing. He's just blowing hot air. Quite frankly, both these guys are seasoned veterans, both of them extremely experienced. I really can't tell you which one's going to wind up coming up with the win, guys, but I am kind of leaning towards NBC.
So would I? You don't get to stay Cruiserweight champ for almost 3 years if you haven't got skills. And let's remember, Block holds the record for the longest buried alive match in our WL history, clocking in at almost a full hour. I doubt he's slowed down very much, semi-retired or not.
Well, GB, one way or another, we're about to find it out in our opening match tonight. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Here we go. Tom Kanamura rings the bell. They come center, they lock it up. Jericho with a headlock. Block shoves him into the ropes. Oh, here we go. A head-on collision with no result. They lock up again. A head block from Craig this time. Jericho shoves him into the ropes. Ducks under. They collide again. One more lockup. This time Craig goes behind. Slams Jericho down to the canvas. Rear waist lock. Won't let it go. Jericho released by block. Counters with a kick to the midsection. They lock up again. NBC winds up the arm on Jericho. There's an arm drag from NBC. Craig blocked. Countered by Chris Jericho. Block counters Jericho. There's a clothesline and out onto the floor. Goes Y2J. Craig block going to follow him on out. No, it's going to get nasty from here. Right into the ring steps goes Jericho. NBC block. Countered by Jericho into a dragon screw as the referee begins the count. Jericho quickly hustles his way back inside the ring. So does NBC. But oh, man, hangs up Jericho on the top rope before he does. Gets back in, gets a hold of Jericho, gets a hold of the trunk, snap suplex from NBC. Craig block. Couple of stomps to the head of Chris Jericho. And now here he goes, NBC trying to unscrew the head of Chris Jericho. Slams his head down to the canvas, follows that up with a stomp to the midsection. Gets a hold of him. Chris Jericho about to go for a ride here. Oh man, what a slam. A gut-wrench slam from NBC. Chris Jericho counters with a jawjacker, backs Craig off. Nice wrap-around neckbreaker on Y2J. Block makes his way back inside the ring. Jericho mocking him, but no, big mistake. Head, oh man, rear headlock from NBC. Right center ring. Referee Tom Canamora keeping an eye on things. Jericho back up to one knee here. Drives a couple of elbows into Block's midsection. Gets a hold of him. Block counters with a kick. Misses with the clothesline. Chris Jericho gets a hold of him, whips him to the far right corner. Whoa, Craig Block counters again. There's another clothesline, and down goes Chris Jericho. NBC definitely fired up here. The crowd in London getting behind NBC Block here. Oh man, look at this. Gouge in the face of Chris Jericho. Jericho slips out the back door. Follows that up with a stomp. Gets a hold of NBC. Back break. Oh man. Drives the knee into the back. Here's a cover one. But just a one. NBC powering out of the pin. Jericho gets him up over the shoulders, but quick counter into an inverted DDT from Craig Block. NBC rounds him up again. Goes behind. Here we go. German suplex number one. Followed up with German suplex number two. NBC gonna go for the hat trick. Nails the trifecta. 3 straight suplexes to Chris Jericho. Block covers and hooks the leg. 1, 2. Well, no dice, not that time. Jericho powering out of the pin again. Craig Block rounds up Jericho. Jericho counters with a jawjacker. Moves in, delivers the kick to the gut, tries for the DDT, but winds up getting flipped. NBC stalking Chris Jericho here. Here we go, up over the shoulders in the fireman's carry. And there it is. The F5. And there's a cover and a hook of the leg. 1, 2. But no. Again, Chris Jericho getting that right shoulder up just in the nick of time. Block has to go back to work all over again. Rounds up Jericho. Has him up for the suplex, but Chris Jericho counters. Gets a hold of Block. Sets him up. Nails him with a power bomb. Chris Jericho quickly goes for a cover. 1, but only a 1. NBC powering out of that one pretty quick. A lot of near falls in this matchup so far. Jericho with a shoulder tackle. Rebounds off the ropes, nails him with a second one. Rebounds off the ropes again, and NBC pitches him out onto the apron. But Block doesn't see him. He's all the way up on the top turnbuckle, and here he comes. Double axe handle right across the head of Craig Block. Chris Jericho rounds up NBC again. Takes him down, setting him up for the Lion Tamer, the Walls of Jericho, whatever you want to call it, and he's got it. Right center ring. NBC could be in trouble here. He's trying to find his way. Look at this. I've never seen this happen before. Whoa! He turned it around into a pin. Look at this right here. 1, 2. Well, now that was pretty impressive. Craig, NBC Block, breaking out of the Walls of Jericho. Now he's going out to the outside after Chris Jericho. Rolls him back inside the ring. Follows him on in. Jericho rounded up over the shoulders. NBC sets it up again. There's another F5, and there's another cover. Here we go. 1, 2. Oh, man, that should have been 3. But referee says it's only 2. Oh, man. Chris Jericho doing a little bit of showboating here. Rounds up Craig Block. Sets him up. What we got to see here? He's got a double underhook. He's up over the shoulders for the powerbomb, but whoa! Countered into a Hurricane Rana by NBC. Man, this guy knows his way around. He's got him in an armbar. Chris Jericho with no ropes to get to. Referee checking things out. And that is it. Chris Jericho has tapped out. NBC Block picks up a win and evens the score with Chris Jericho by submission.
The time, 6 minutes and 19 seconds. Your winner by pinfall, Craig, NBC Block. I'd say Jericho's disrespect towards Craig Block was just paid back in full, with NBC picking up not only a win, but a tap-out win at that. Certainly didn't look over the hill to me. In fact, I'm betting the whole cruiserweight division is hoping Craig Block doesn't decide to try for another run. Something I honestly wouldn't mind seeing happen.
NBC, the next big champion, giving back to Jericho as good as he got from him. And Jericho had his moments in the match, but the one moment that matters most comes with the closing bell, and Jericho was forced to submit to the arm bar, despite his attempts to hold out against it. Dynamite win for the Cruiserweight Hall of Famer.
It most certainly was. I mean, I figured it might have been the end when Chris Jericho put him in the Lion Tamer, but you see right there in the replay, he turned it around on him and turned it into a pin. Craig NBC Block. Oh man, tons of experience on that fella. A great win for NBC. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes care of our first match for the evening. There's still a whole lot more ahead. So do stick around because we're going to be back with a whole lot more RWL Snarl right after the break. Hope to see you there.